Here we are back with Craig Button, our director of scouting, one more time. Kris Knoblauch's first Game 7 as a head coach in the NHL is a victorious one, Craig. Couple of things stand out to me. Of course, everyone's going to talk about his decision to go to Calvin Pickard for Games 4 and 5, then go back to Stuart Skinner for 6 and 7. That was huge. But also to take Corey Perry out of the lineup and put Sam Carrick in the lineup. You might think maybe you want to stick with that veteran presence of Perry, but he goes with Carrick, and he really provided a spark to the Oilers in Games 6 and 7. What was your assessment of Knoblauch's performance as a head coach in this series?
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, Jay. From the time he stepped behind the bench on November 13th, he instilled a system that had them outstanding. Goals for, goals against, power play, penalty kill, and everything. Listen, the conviction of Kris Knoblauch to make the change to Calvin Pickard and the belief that he had, and then the conviction to go back to Stuart Skinner. I mean, the coach knows. And then you think about different things, and you think about the ability to have that confidence and the understanding of what it takes to put that goaltender in. He's not worried about being wrong. He's worried about what he thinks will help the team be the very best. Dylan Holloway going up with Leon Draisaitl, making 2 lines in your top 6, really, really functional, was so important for this team. And so those are adjustments that he made. And then I can go to the blue line, the way, I mean, he put Desharnais with Nurse. That really helped Nurse. Kulak with Ceci really helped Ceci. We know how great Ekholm and Bouchard were, but Kulak and Ceci, Nurse and Desharnais were excellent. The fine touch and everything that Kris Knoblauch did. You know, there was a question asked of Stuart Skinner. What adjustments were made? What did you learn? Kris Knoblauch was the maestro. He was the guy behind that bench making those adjustments. Most importantly, having the conviction to do the things that he felt would give the Oilers a chance to win. He found balance. He trusted his fourth line. He got the defense pairs in order, and not afraid to go to Calvin Pickard, not afraid to come back to Stuart Skinner. Just a fantastic job in these playoffs by Kris Knoblauch. I don't know why anybody'd be surprised, Jay. He's done it since November 13th.
Craig, let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks. For their fan base, sure, this is disappointing, but overall, this is a terrific season for this hockey club. And what a way to finish it out without Brock Besser, without Thatcher Demko. A lot of Pettersson talk and the way he maybe underperformed, as we pointed out earlier. What sticks out to you the most as we head into the offseason, Craig, with Vancouver as far as the Canucks are concerned?
Yeah, I think what Rick Tocchet talked about, JT Miller talked about, the way they played hard, they were competitive, and there was no quit in that team. We saw that over the course of the season. We certainly saw this in the Game 7 here that they eventually lost. So there's lots of things to be positive about for the Canucks. You look at Rick Tocchet, what he instilled in the team. This was one of the best defensive teams in the league this year, Jay. And let's not forget that. The transformation they made defensively was significant. They make the trade for Zadorov. They sign Ian Cole. They sign Carson Soucy. Those were all significant. They made the trade last year at the trade deadline for Filip Hronek. They got their defensive game really in order, took pressure off of Thatcher Demko, and that becomes really significant. The offense wasn't as prolific as it was in previous seasons, but the success that the Vancouver Canucks had was founded on good defensive play. They struggled somewhat offensively come playoff time, and certainly when you start to look at where they can move forward, I mean, Teddy Blueger was a really good depth forward. We know what they did with Elias Lindholm getting him, but Zadorov's a free agent. Mm-hmm. You look at Ian Cole, who's a free agent. Filip Hronek needs a new contract. You start to look at where their team is at. Yes, there's some work to do. What I would say for the Vancouver Canucks, lots of positive. Rick Tocchet said there's lots of things to deal with in the offseason. But now there's going to be change in the lineup. There's going to be change in the roster. How do they replicate what they did last offseason to give their team a really good opportunity to be competitive this year? That'll be the challenge for the Vancouver Canucks. But I think what's really good for the Vancouver Canucks fan base is that there's a confidence back in the organization, a real emotional connection to the team. That's all positive.
You mentioned Zadorov. Craig, did anyone make themselves more money over the course of the playoffs so far than Nikita Zadorov did? Because he truly stood out. He was so great. He was the heart and soul of that defense for Vancouver. And as you mentioned, he's about to be a free agent. Pretty nice timing.
Yeah, I've said this often. I said if I was a team and I'm interested in giving my defense group a real opportunity to be successful, and I'm interested in players that are competitive and help you win, I want Nikita Zadorov on my team.
What about Elias Pettersson? Any concern about that contract kicking in next year and the performance you saw from him in the postseason so far? You know, the guys in the panel feel like he's going to figure it out. Do you feel like he's going to figure it out when it comes to postseason play?
Well, I mean, here's the biggest thing that players have to learn come postseason. And it's not just when the playoffs start. You get to the second round of the playoffs, there's only 8 teams left, and the teams you're playing against are really good. And I'll be very clear with you. Wendell Clark said this a number of years ago. He said, when players learn that you're going to have 3 feet less space in the playoffs and a half a second less time to operate, that's when you can be successful in the playoffs. And we know that the Vancouver Canucks haven't been in the playoffs, and Elias Pettersson is a very gifted player, a very skilled player. We know that he can make an impact, but he didn't show that ability in these playoffs. We'll wait and see next playoffs and see if he learns that. Is there a belief for me that he can do it? Yeah, there's absolutely a belief he can do it. But until you show that you can do it, there's going to be questions.
All right, Craig, now this is very exciting, very tense for you. This is one of your former teams, the Dallas Stars. They're in the Western Conference Final. They look fantastic. They look dynamite. They beat the Oilers 2 of 3 times in the regular season. Now they face Edmonton with home ice in the Western Conference Final. Craig, who do you like to win the Western Conference Final and move on to the Stanley Cup Final?
Jay, on April 19th, I had to do buttonology. I had to pick all the way through to the Stanley Cup Final. I had Edmonton and Dallas in the Western Conference Final, and I picked Dallas to win. I'm not changing. They have an edge in net. They have some really good, strong depth in their forward group where they can score through 3 lines, and they are outstanding defensively. And the Edmonton Oilers have shown that they can find a way to win and find a way to play really strong defensively. There's no question in my mind. Hey, listen, this is going to be a 6-game series. The question for me will be, has this series versus the Vancouver Canucks taken a little bit out of the Edmonton Oilers? And that we'll see how that all unfolds. But I got the Dallas Stars just like I did on April 19th. Nothing's changing on May 20th.
Craig, you're a genius mind. We knew it back then when you made your pick, and you're confirming it now. You're the best, my friend. We love chatting with you. I can't wait to talk to you all throughout the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be an absolute blast. Looking forward to that.